Just Pearly Things can't catch a break. She's still in some hot water. Her former employees are exposing her. Now, one of her former employees, called Sir Garvey, just made a video accusing her of putting her employees in slave deals like King Rich's, Auntie, etc., etc. Her black employees specifically.
I'm making this video today that I didn't initially want to make. But there comes a time when we're all at a crossroad and have to make a decision. And sometimes that decision can affect you morally, it can affect you spiritually, and it can affect you financially. But it's a decision that we can't shy away from. Now, recently, JustPearlyThings has been caught up in some controversy. Why? She has interviewed avid racist and known racist Nick Fuentes. He is also an anti-Semite. What did Pearl do when she interviewed him? What she done is that she laughed with him and seems to agree with a lot of his points.
Talk about instances of like when they initially freed the slaves, there were some slaves that felt so indebted to their owners that they would travel across states to pay them back, and they actually had a really good relationship with them.
Yo, I'm gonna tell you this, yo. Some white folks, man. Some white folks, I'll tell you, boy. Some white folks, man. Some slaves had a yo, I'm legit crying, bro. Yo, some slaves had a really good relationship with their owners. I know when slaves were freed that some did go back to work on a plantation because they had no other option. They had no education, no certificates, no skills, right? They couldn't just go out and go to school and get a job, right? And they were homeless, they have no means to eat or work. So they had to go back and take pennies on the dollars to work this time, which was probably better than working for free. I know those occurrences happen, but for you to say that some slaves had a good relationship with their owners is insane, Pearl.
Now, if she had said some of these things about the Jewish community, she would have been cancelled in a hot minute. Ask Kyrie Irving. Ask Kanye West. Now, this isn't about the Jewish community. This is about us. Okay? And so after that interview, Pearl decided to make an apology video, which was, in my personal point of view, disingenuous and a PR stunt.
Oh, this brother is on time and he's not going for nothing. Now, I've seen a lot of Pearl's employees buffooning and shucking and jiving. This brother ain't going for none of that.
And all in all, it came from a place of deception.
Guys, people say that stuff about me. They say I'm sexist. They say I'm a misogynist. And, you know, I really just like to give people the benefit of the doubt when I interview them. I don't go into interviews trying to interrogate someone. I just more try to listen and see where they're coming from. In hindsight, that wasn't smart. And in hindsight, I should have had someone, you know, maybe Sarah Garvey, maybe another content creator that could have pushed back more and really was more educated on the topics that he was talking about than I was, because I certainly was not an expert in any of the stuff that he was talking about.
And so when she came to the UK, I was very interested in the content that she would actually put out. And it just so happened that she was putting out content that I was interested in, similar to what the late, great Kevin Samuels actually put out. And I understand it because I myself had been embroiled in court cases and things of that nature when it comes to the mother of my son, and understand that the gynocentric order in which we live in is something that needs to be spoken about. So when she came to London, she said that she wanted to make a podcast, and I said, no problem. Okay, let's talk about it. And I decided to feature on her show. Now, when I featured on her show, because of my following in the UK, people would tune in.
The employee and employer dynamic in terms of content creation is always a tricky thing because the employees would always try to claim, I guess, more credit than they really deserve. Now, him saying that people tapped in because of him, yo, that may be true. But then I would have posed the question of, yo, if you are claiming credit for Pearl's channel's growth and how fast it grew, then why hasn't your channel grew just as much?
So essentially, I helped Pearl grow her channel. Okay, I was on there week to week, and I was working with her based on a fee. So the tragic death of Kevin Samuels happened, and there was a vacuum within the manosphere space. Who was it going to be filled by? It was actually filled by JustPearlyThings along with other content creators.
Yes, Pearly was definitely one of them, but I think Fresh and Fit were the biggest beneficiary.
Now, I believe that the reason why this space was filled is because Kevin Samuels had a large following of black men. And these black men were essentially fed up with the way feminism had taken over their community, specifically their women. So when he died, there was a vacuum and a lot of black men looking for content like this. And it was filled by Pearl. And I believe that Pearl rose to fame because she herself was the opposite of what those men had been seeing. She was a white woman. She wasn't the types of women that they had been seeing. And essentially, she was regurgitating Kevin Samuels' content. So I began working with Pearl. And from the beginning, I started to think that maybe this girl has a colonial mindset.
If you're like me and have to Google everything, I got you, all right? A colonial mentality is the internalized attitude of ethnic or cultural inferiority felt by people as a result of colonization, i.e., them being colonized by another group. It corresponds with the belief that the cultural values of the colonizer are inherently superior to one's own. So from this perspective, when he says colonial mindset in reference to JustPearlyThings, she would be the colonizer. So she wouldn't have an inferiority complex. She would have a superiority complex to where she would believe that her own values and belief is superior to that of her black employees.
Now, we all know that we don't want to be paranoid. So I kept working with her. However, the more I worked with her is the more that I saw. She had a colonial type viewpoint when it came to black people. And I had to school her a few times on what it was like to be black and the black experience, and also what slavery and colonization was actually like.
Do you think that historical catastrophes must be compensated for?
No.
No.
That's stupid.
Here's the thing. I believe that all Americans have the right to have an opinion when it comes to reparations for whoever. However, it's the arrogance that come with it. Saying no, that's stupid, opposed to saying no and just giving your reason why you don't believe that, let's say, black people or Jewish people or Mexicans or Native Americans, why they deserve reparations. Instead of just going down that route, to call it stupid, the very thought of people being compensated for past catastrophe is just stupid to you. To me, is insane. You don't have to agree with it. You can give an opinion to oppose it, but calling people just having that conversation stupid comes off as condescending and pompous.
So then, I'm not agreeing or disagreeing.
Yeah.
So then, how come there were groups of people that got compensation then?
How come?
For instance, like Jewish people, Chinese people, Japanese people with the bombs. Like there were groups of people who got compensated.
I don't know.
So it wasn't fair.
What? Well, I'm talking about like when I think about group, I think about reparations. So I mean, maybe if the people were still alive today, like I don't know, maybe. But like when you said historical, I thought you meant like at the past, not the present.
Yeah, so like in the past, so like people talk about slavery. So in the past, you know, the Holocaust happened. In the past, you know, the Japanese, but people got compensated.
Hey, yo, she's doing the yep, yeah. Bro, she's not even listening to what bro's saying.
Yeah.
There's a book, right, called How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. And when you read that book, you realize that the whole Industrial Revolution and stuff like that was started because of the colonization. And you just think, well, if you didn't...
So that video was filmed in 2022. And in that video, what you saw was me attempting to tell Pearl and show Pearl what colonization was like. How people went to another group of people and took their resources and took what was theirs and built their empire off of it. So when Pearl now plays like she doesn't know what colonization is and she doesn't know what slavery is, and she says these insensitive statements, in that video I actually attempted to give her a book. It was called How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. I've read it myself. She semi-dismissed that book. She kind of dismissed that book And then she went on with herself to go and interview a man like Nick Fuentes. Pearl has Africans that work for her. Now, Nigeria has many issues. Now, the disparity in Nigeria has rich and poor people living just on the breadline. And Pearl has these types of people working for her. They edit her videos. They make her thumbnails.
So, look what I have here. This is evidence to show how hard my Americans work.
No, hold on. You forgot, yeah? What? This is how hard my white Americans work.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
They're very hard workers.
Yes.
I like how they work. My white Americans really work hard. You see that?
They inspire us to work hard.
No. Do you know what? They don't even inspire. They're working hard for themselves, bro.
Oh, okay.
You know, they're putting in a lot of work, yeah? They put in a lot of work. My white my.
That's King Riches, and that's Blessing. They're shucking and jiving and buffooning. So they're making light of Pearl comments in regards to her black Africans coming to America and how her black Africans work hard.
White Americans
you guys should
work hard. Yeah, you could.
So Pearl has taken people on from Africa, which on the surface looks like a good thing. And I guess it is. Africans are being fed. They're taking money from her. They are feeding their family. Amazing. However, with a colonial mindset, this can be quite dangerous. And what happened during that interview with Nick Fuentes was that she used an age-old tactic that colonizers use, which was the divide and rule tactic. She pitted African Americans versus Africans when she spoke about how hard Africans work compared to how hard African Americans work.
As an African, I've always been really aware of this tactic of pitting Africans versus African Americans. I'll tell you guys a story. I went on the Academics live stream earlier this week when they were speaking about Africans versus Black Americans in terms of the work ethic. And what I said was, hold up now, bruh. And this was my address to all the foreigners on the panel. I said, hold up. Not only is it wrong, but it's insulting to even question the work ethic of the Black American when their work ethic is the only reason you're here. During the Civil Rights Movement, Black Americans pushed, marched, and protested for Black immigrants to come here in the same numbers the white immigrants were coming over here. See, their mentality was, if the white immigrants is coming over here and contributing to white supremacy, then we want our Black brothers to also come over here to help us fight white supremacy. But instead, what took place? Once the Black immigrants from the Caribbeans and Africa started coming over here, the tactics of dividing Black immigrants and Black Americans got put in full effect. And instead of helping Black Americans fight for more rights, the Black immigrant is now saying, oh, they're lazy. That's why they haven't been able to achieve what we've been able to achieve. The colonizer was able to brainwash them and permeate this ideology of, yo, they're able to achieve this because they work harder than the Black American. And now their black asses are on VC, Discord, YouTube live streams talking down upon the Black American work ethic as if that very same work ethic of the Black American isn't why their black asses is able to be in this country and be able to work and feed a fucking family.
And she also used the term, my Africans. Much of what Pearl says is determined by her management, which she has said to me on many occasions that she shares with Candace Owens. So when you have a colonial mindset and you have a management who tell you what to say, what generally happens in my personal point of view and what I actually saw was that she began to start paying people pittance. She began to start offering contracts to people that owned them, just like a colonial master would. Case in point, myself and Pearl sat down to have a conversation about me signing to her contractually. And I want to make this very clear. I have never signed to the JustPearlyThings network. I have always been an independent. Pearl has known that, and I have known that. And so anytime I worked with Pearl, we had agreed a fee, and I worked for that fee. I have never been signed to the JustPearlyThings contracts. However, she has signed a few Africans, namely King Riches and Auntie Jenny.
I knew that JustPearlyThings was signing talent because during her No Jumper interview, she said that she was trying to expand her business outwards, and one of the ways that she was expanding was signing these content creators to production deals to where she produced all the content and they work out a profit split. Now, I wasn't aware in terms of exactly what the deal was and how it was constructed, but he breaks it down perfectly from first-hand experience. Now, after he's done, once you're aware of the business practices that JustPearlyThings is engaging in, it comes off as really scummy and exploitative.
Now, I have no problem with a King Richards or an Auntie Jenny. However, if we look at the contracts that they signed, you would understand the reason why I use the term colonization and colonial. Now, myself and Pearl sat down to have a conversation, and she expressed to me that she wanted to do a new segment for her show. In that segment, she said that she would like me to present a topical news show on a day-to-day basis. So I said, okay, no problem. Talk to me. What are we talking about? And she said she would want me within her studio 4 days per week. I said, okay, from what time? She said from 10 in the morning till 5 o'clock in the evening. And I said, okay, well, that is 7 hours. I said, so working 4 to 5 days a week for 7 hours is essentially a day job. I said to her, okay, so what is my guaranteed fee at the end of the month? What is the salary? And she looks at me and she says, we do not do guarantees and we do not do salaries. So I said, so if you don't do guarantees and you don't do salaries, what is it that you actually do? And she said she does percentages. So I said, okay, cool. Well, what's the percentage? She said, Sarah, you're the high end, so you will get 70-30. So I said, fine, okay, let me listen. 70% goes to me and 30% goes to you. Now she looked at me and she said, no, 70% goes to me, Pearl, and 30% goes to me.
God damn. God damn. I'll be real, yo. Yo, bruh. Pearl learned her tactics from Trump, yo. Pearl learned her tactics from her ancestors, man. God damn. Those are some diabolical practices, bro. You show up 5 days a week, 7 hours a day. That's about what? 35 hours a week? You do 35 hours worth a week of content on my channel, and you get 30% of the profits, and I get 70%. And then when you do stuff on your channel too from my studio, I get 70% and you get 30%. Nah, that's diabolical, bro. Who gonna sign up for that?
Sarah Garvey. And that's when I started scratching my head. And I said, hang on a minute. So are you telling me that's a high-end contract for you? And she said, yes. And I said, so are you saying that JustPearlyThings Network has other people on low-end contracts? She said, yes. I said, King Richards and Auntie Jenny? She said, yes. I said, what's the low end? She said, it's 10 to 15%.
What? What? 10%? Yo, those business practices, man, was learned on the Mayflower, bro. Pearl got that from her ancestors. The Pearl a cold one, bro. Pearl a shark out here, bro. Those business practices, man, was learned in the cathedrals in Spain, bro.
So essentially, she could be owning 80% of the content, which is basically the monetized views on somebody's channel, and they only take home 15% of the money? She said yes. I said, Pearl, how long are these contracts for? She said 3 years.
What? Bro, the cold one, man. Hey, yo, bro, Pro putting people in real slave deals, man. Yo, Pro the new Diddy, bro. Yo, y'all let that white girl come in the black manosphere, man, and turn to Diddy, bro. Y'all let that white woman Diddy y'all in the manosphere, man. She turned to Diddy, bro. She handing out 360s. Bro, 90% of your profits for 3 years? Bro, how you feeding your family off of them 10%, bro? Hey, yo, listen, bro. Listen, man. And they put in 35 hours a week at JustPearlyThings, man, and then going to the factory and working for another 40 weeks, man. 40 hours that week, bro. Cold one, man. Cold game out here, bro.
I said, let me get this straight. You want to own me for 3 years to take 70% of my ad revenue, keep me in your studio from 10 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock in the evening for 4 to 5 days a week, and you are not guaranteeing me any money. I said respectfully, for what reason would I work for your company? She said, because we have a great studio.
I've seen him do it. I know he did it for a fact.
Yo, Pearl, I know you did it, bro. Yo, Pearl, I know it's... Duh!
Oh my God!
Duh! You telling me that King Richards was doing all that cooning for 10% in a great studio to work in?
And we have great lighting. And we have great editors that will edit your stuff down. Now, I may be a lot of things, but I'm not an idiot. I may be cool, I may be calm, I may be collected, but I'm not a fool. And essentially, the colonial mindset of Pearl has people working on her quote-unquote plantation for absolute pittance, when a year ago, I suggested to her to look into exactly what colonization was, and she acted dumb.
Guys, people say that stuff about me. They say I'm sexist. They say I'm a misogynist. And, you know, I really just like to give people the benefit of the doubt when I interview them. I don't go into interviews trying to interrogate someone. I just more try to listen and see where they're coming from. In hindsight, that wasn't smart. And in hindsight, I should have had someone, you know, maybe Sarah Garvey, maybe another content creator that could have pushed back more and really was more educated on the topics that he was talking about than I was, because I certainly was not an expert in any of the stuff that he was talking about.
Now, I grew up in a time where there were brilliant R&B girl groups like TLC, and also brilliant R&B artists like Toni Braxton. They both sold millions and millions and millions of records, but they ended up broke. Why? Contracts. They were signed to contracts that did not favor them. And essentially, what Pearl is trying to do is come back in with the same contracts and do the exact same thing to the manosphere and do the exact same thing to the red pill community. Why? Because Kevin Samuels left a gap.
Listen, we can laugh and joke and make the colonizer jokes out cool. But at the end of the day, yo, if Pearl has a business model that she believes is profitable for her business, even if that business model is exploitative, it's up to the grown men and women she's offering contracts to look at that contract and see this contract ain't for me. If those men and women are saying that this contract is for them and is suitable for them and is profitable, you know, and they enjoy it, hey, listen, if you like it, I love it. So at the end of the day, it's up to those grown men and women to realize, yo, this is not a decent contract. It's just not. But, yo, if they, you know, want to go through with it, you know, then who's to blame? Like, can we honestly blame Pearl for contracts that those grown men and women accepted and love?
And Kevin Samuels' fan base was predominantly black men. And Pearl has come in there and attempted to be top of the food chain. I will not be a part of this game, and I will not be a part of this colony. I have always been an independent. If people in the UK who can actually say and watch all of my content can say that I've been around before Pearl even arrived in the UK, what would I look like signing my life away, essentially, 70% of all I own, to this woman who just arrived in the UK the other day? I have only given you around 30% of what I know. We haven't even touched on the very odd and weird parties that Pearl likes to invite people to. And I was invited to one last year, And she told me that her manager was coming from America and they were going to have a party. And very interestingly, they said that it was going to be board games. And I said, okay, cool.
Yo, who's in the back rizzing up just Pearly things like that, bruh? Yo, who that brother right there, man, rizzing up Pearly like that, man? Like whispering sweet nothings all up in her ears. Yo, bro, that brother trying to secure the bag,
I don't mind playing Monopoly. I don't mind playing Snakes and Ladders. When I got there and I asked her about the board game, she said, no, a board game. There was a whiteboard in the living room. And what she proposed was that we all have a time on the whiteboard and we do what she says and we talk about certain things which were quite sexual and we put them on the whiteboard. But you know what I saw? I always saw her manager Kobe in the corner filming everything. And we've all spoken amongst ourselves and we've spoken about Hollywood and the things that go down. And within that party, what I saw was if people were on that board doing very sexual things and doing things while they were drunk, that stuff was being recorded. But we'll speak about it another time.
Here, I want to ask the men in here. Men in here. I want to ask the men in here. Okay. Women, raise your hand if you think women like violence.
I've never met Just Pearly Things or talked to her personally to really gauge her character. I don't consume her content on a daily basis, so I can't speak on her character. All I can say, if this is true, then Pearly probably needs to make a video and react to it and, you know, and like clear it up and apologize and make it right for it. If it's cap, you know, she probably needs to make a video too, you know, and kind of, you know, debunk it, because this right here looks really, really, really bad on Pearly, you know, and Pearly is pretty young too. So, you know, being that age, she's probably impressionable. She's probably being led by managers and, you know, and like puppeteers. But, you know, at the end of the day, she's to blame for everything that happens in her business, right? It's your boy, Poetic Flocko, man. Check out this video right here of Destiny debating Tristan Tate's ex-girlfriend about the release of Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate. I'm going to see you guys in this video, right? See y'all soon.